Alright, so we're gonna make one of these. This is the paper weaving holder. Yeah, this is a pretty big one. The one we're gonna make is gonna be smaller. So first we need to see what we would need to make this, which is our Bristol board. I have green and I have black. Two colors of Bristol board, green and black. You could use any two colors. You also need your glue, a pencil, scissors, and a ruler. Right? So first we take one of our sheets of Bristol board, lay it out flat, and we're gonna cut some strips. You wanna make sure those strips are even. So we take our ruler and we measure the strip. The strip is going to be 1 inch wide. Alright, that's one strip. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do about, let's say, 8 of those. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. 1. Right, so marked out the size and I draw the lines. You want to make sure these strips even and the same size, otherwise it will not come out as good. That's neat. So you need to cut these strips in both colors, both your green and your black. So what you can do to save time is to take your green Bristol board or your other color Bristol board and put it below the one you've drawn the lines. So put this first, put this one on top of it, make sure it's evenly lined up. Right? And now when you cut the lines, you can try to cut the two Bristol board at once, unless you want to take your time and draw the lines on this. You could do that, right? But once you've drawn your line, you can now use your scissors to follow the line and cut both strips. Right, so you'd have your strips two strips in both color. You want to have 8 in each. Right, so for the process of saving time, you all could take time and cut your strips with the scissors. I'm going to cut them with a knife. Now I have a knife and I am being careful. I don't think you all should use a knife to cut this, so you use your scissors and take your time and cut each strip one at a time. Alright, so now I have all my strips. Put them to the top there. And this Bristol board, you're actually going to be using this later on, so don't get rid of it. So now we empty back our space. We have an even clear open space. And we have to decide now which colors we're going to use for our warps and which colors we're going to use for our wefts. So remember that warp goes up and down, weft goes left and right. Warp goes vertically and weft goes horizontally. So I'm going to use the green for my weft. Right, so I spread one green strip, and now I'm going to take the black strip and use it for my warps and stick it along this strip. Now how I'm going to stick it is I'm going to stick one on top, one below, one on top, one below, one on top, one below, and I'm going to leave a little space on the end. Right, so my first one is when my glue comes in, I put a little dot of glue. I feel like I put too much glue on this, so I'm going to use an X block. Take some of the glue. I'm gonna stick this straight on top of it like that. The next one, I'm gonna stick it below. Make sure it's reaching to the top, and also make sure it's right next to this black strip here. Alright, so we're going to repeat that. One on top. Make sure these strips are right next to one another, not overlapping. And just that we're running out of black strips, but we actually have all the black strips we need right here. Alright, so I use my 8, but we need more. We need to fill out the entire top of this first weft. So what we can do now is you realize that these strips are very long, and we don't actually need these to be this long. We actually need it to be we need it to be 6 inches. So on the 6-inch mark here, 6 inches, you can go ahead and cut this black strip. I'll just mark one here again. So I can go ahead and cut these straight. Yeah. Now this will decide how wide or how tall the container is going to be. So I'm thinking the container shall be about 5 inches, and we need a little bit extra here, so that's why I cut it as 6. So 5 strips of weft would evenly fit here. But if you want to make the container taller, you can make it longer and just cut it longer and add more wefts. I'm going to use 5 wefts. So now I've gotten extra black strips to continue this. The less glue you put, the better, because it will dry faster. At the same time you want to make sure it's stuck properly. So another point to note is that how much strips you add going vertically here is how wide the container is going to be. So if you add less, it will be smaller. I've decided to make it about 18 inches, straight up to 18. So what I can do is I can just put a marker there, 18. So I know where I need to reach up to. Alright, I've run out the black strips again, but just like before, I can cut off excess from the bottom. So just make sure you know that they're supposed to be how long? 6 inches. Alright, something important to note here is you always want to end off your last strip. If you don't end here and you end all the way more than 18 inches, that's okay, but you want to make sure and end the opposite to how you started. So this one is on top, so when I end, I should have one below. So the one below goes a little more than 8 inches, but that's okay. Alright, so I started with one on top, I ended with one below. You don't want to end with one on top. Right? So now that you have this, make sure you're not stuck down to your table. Right? All of these should be even, and the less glue you use, the quicker it will dry. So maybe you could give this a little time to dry, but mine is already drying, so I could go ahead into the next step. Alright, so the next step is to actually weave. So you're taking your wefts, your green strips or your other color strips, and you're going from one end. You would have started with under, so you're going over and then under, over, then under. And an easy way to do this would be to raise up these pieces and simply put it under. Alright, I'll show you another way you can do it. Alright, once you put that in, make sure you have the same amount on this end, and then push it up to the top strip. And push it up as tightly as possible. The more closer you push it together, the more tight it will be and the more stronger the mat will be. Remember that you're creating a mat here. This flat surface, flat woven surface, is called a mat. Alright, so I've pushed this one up to the top as much as possible. It's a really nice checkered pattern. So now you can take another one, and another way you could do it, you could do it from the bottom here. Might be easier. Oop, I was going the wrong way. I have to go below first. So the opposite of what you just did. I went, instead of going on top, I went below. Over, below, over, below, over, below, over, below, over, below, below, below. Oop. Right. As far as then, I could push this up to the top again. Again, pull it down just to make sure I have an even amount here. And this is a second layer. I got third layer. So I went below for this one. So this one I will go on top. I'll start with on top, under, top, under, top, and under. Top, under, top, under, top, under, top, under, top, right. Pull this down. Make sure it's even on this end. have a little extra. That extra is so that at the end we can stick these two sides together. That's why we're leaving a little extra. Alright, so I had estimated to do 5 strips on this. I'm gonna put in my last one, and then I'll have a little bit extra in the end, which is good because I need these little extra pieces here. So the last one will be under, over, under, over, under, over, over, right? And I push this one up as well. Right, you just want to make sure all of them have been pushed up as much as they possibly could be. Make sure all these the wefts are pushed up, because what you're gonna do now is you're gonna stick down the bottom of the last weft that you put in. So I'm just generally making sure all are pushed up, and again, the tighter that you push it up, the stronger that's gonna be. So here all mines have been pushed and it's tight. So now I want to stick down this last weft. So what I can do is raise up these pieces that are on top. Just pull a little dot of glue, push it down. You turn it over and you do the same thing. Raise up the ones that are open. Right, so you probably want to give that a second to dry. Once it's dry, the entire thing should be held together. Now we're actually going to make this into the circle, the cylinder. Just from a 2D into a 3D shape. So after it's dry, then you can pick up your piece, alright? And what we could do here is we could cut off the excess. We only need a little bit excess here, so you can probably just cut off, gauge and cut. I'm leaving about, let's say that's 2 inches extra on the edge. So now you can round this, alright? And what will happen is the first green will stick on top of this green, right? And continue the checkered pattern, right? The second green could actually be woven into the second loop. So you could weave that in, right? And you could do that for the third one and fourth one as well. So you weave in. Bristol board. If you can't weave it in and you find it's giving a little trouble, you can always just stick it. So here this one is giving a little trouble, so I think I might just stick that. Nope, I got it. Alright, so the first one here could be stuck, so I'm gonna stick that one time. This one could be woven in. And then the bottom one will need to be stuck as well. The bottom one wouldn't be able to weave because the bottom one was already stuck. So I'm gonna just stick this one down. And there you have it. The outside would be stuck, and then you would have to take your time and stick the inside as well. So some of these could be woven on the inside, but not the first and second layer. Not the first and the last layer. Those would have to be stuck. So I'm gonna stick this here. When you're doing this, what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that your checker pattern lines up. So you technically when it's stuck, it would look continuous and you wouldn't know where it started or where it ended. Right? But I can see that it started. Oh, I actually lost it. I don't know where it is. It's outside. So here I'm gonna just try to weave these. I could cut it a little shorter before I weave it. Right. I'm just gonna weave these in. So the bottom two are giving a little trouble, so I'm just gonna cut them and stick them down. So you'll probably have to do this as well. Just cut it, make sure the pattern lines up, and then just stick them down. A little dots of glue. So inside it looks continuous as well. It looks as though it didn't start to end there. Alright, so now we have to do the base. You could probably give this a little time to dry again. I see the time to dry probably about 5 to 10 minutes. Leave it to dry, and then we can do the base. So to do the base of the container, you would see that these pieces on the bottom, some of them bend inwards when you fold it, and some of them would bend outwards. Alright, so go ahead and fold those inward and outward, inward and outward, inward and outward, 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 inward, outward. Right, and what we can do is we can actually cut off the outward ones. These that are facing outward, we don't need these. We just need the ones that are facing inward. So you could go ahead and cut off those excess pieces. Right, and this is where extra Bristol board comes into play. Right, so if your rest is flat, you would see the flat pieces line up on our flat surface at the bottom. This is where you can take your Bristol board, right, and you need to get 2 circles. So what I would advise is that you possibly fold this in half, just into a space where you can get 2 pieces of Bristol board at once. I'm going to put this on top of the Bristol board, and now I'm going to take my pencil, and in between those little spaces I'm going to draw little lines so I can get the shape of this container. Hold it down in place and just draw some rough lines. Right. So here you can see on my Bristol board, I've gotten a circle. It's a dotted circle, but now I can use my pencil to kind of create the circle. Right. Yeah. So I've drawn the circle, and now I want to cut out a circle out of the 2 sheets of Bristol board. So I get 2 circles. So here goes. Now when cutting this, it's actually possible for you to cut it a little bit smaller. You may need to trim it later on, but at first you can cut it the same size and just see if it fits into the container. It's based on how accurately you drew that circle from when the container was on top of the cardboard. So when I cut out the circle, I'm gonna try it one time. You can put it inside and see if it fits. And yeah, mine fits. So then you just take it back out. I was just testing it to see if it fitted. And now you can use the 2 circles. So the first thing you're doing with the first circle is you're taking the container, you turn it upside down, and you're putting a little bit of glue on top of each of these bent pieces. I take my circle and I rest flat on top. You could press it a little bit, but it might not hold. What you have to do is actually flip over the container, and now you can press down each of the little pieces on the inside, right? Now this stage is optional, but I think it definitely makes a big improvement in how this works. Instead of what you're going to do is to stick this circle on the inside, but what I think is a good idea is if you have a piece of cardboard, what I would advise is that you take the cardboard and cut out a circle in cardboard. Now this is only if you have cardboard. You can cut out a circle in cardboard and put that circle on the inside, and that would help to keep everything a little bit stronger, right? You can stick a piece of cardboard, a circle of cardboard, and then just stick this on top of it. So if you have cardboard, you could go ahead and cut a circle in cardboard and put it on the inside there. That will actually make it much sturdier and much stronger. So to stick this last circle, make sure these are stuck properly. Pull them in. If you're seeing spacing to the side here, just pull them in, right? And now I can stick this piece. So I just put glue around the entire circle, probably a little bit to the center, and now rest it down on the inside, and that is it. That is basically our woven container. Now there is a little bit of green here poking out from the excess of the circle. I can cut that off just to make it a little neater. Yeah. Leave this to dry. Like I said, you could put the cardboard on the inside, or if you want to, you could even put more of these Bristol board circles just to give it a little more. See how sturdy it is at the base? So this is your container.